It's honestly a rare moment around here when I can film in the dead quiet, so we just have to go with it. Okay, if you live in a cold area that gets a lot of rain or snow, then you know that summer is a long ways off. Like it feels like it's so far away. So we are still doing the comfort food recipes, and I feel like my comfort food recipes compared to the summer recipes, like there's no comparison. We are usually eating like the heartier meals because we just spend more time in the winter. So today I'm going to be sharing 3 comfort food recipes. These are easy. I've got a 30-minute skillet meal. I have a slow cooker meal that's perfect for throwing in the crock pot in the morning and then you can enjoy it in the evening. And then we're also going to be making a pan of enchiladas. These are so delicious and unique. I'm really excited to share these with you. Well, if we haven't met before, my name is Ange. I'm so glad you're here. Welcome. And this is the Menu Made Kitchen. Right, so for our skillet salsa verde chicken, I've got an oven safe skillet here because we're gonna actually throw this into the oven. I added 1 tablespoon of olive oil and about a half a cup of chopped up yellow onion. And I'm just gonna saute this until the onion is kind of golden brown and definitely softened. And then once that happens, we're gonna add a teaspoon of minced garlic. And then I also have some seasonings here, a half a teaspoon each of cumin, paprika, smoked paprika, oregano, and then I have a little bit of salt and pepper. I'm just going to toast the seasonings for about 30 seconds until they're fragrant. And then next we're going to add in a half a cup of chicken broth. And then I'm just going to take my spoon and just make sure to break up all the bits off the bottom of the pan. That's where a lot of the flavor's at. And then I am going to add in 1 can of black beans. I've rinsed and drained these. I'm going to also do 1 cup of frozen corn. You can also do canned corn. And then I have 1 cup of salsa verde. I like to use this roasted salsa verde brand. It's so delicious and it kind of has a smoky flavor. So I'm just going to stir all of this together until it's well combined. And then we're going to add in some rice. I'm going to use this Uncle Ben's ready rice, the whole grain. You can also use the white rice. This just makes it so easy. You don't have to cook it. We're just going to throw in the entire bag. And then I've got 2 cups of cooked chicken. This is just from some slow cooker chicken that I did over the weekend. And then we're going to add in 1 cup of Monterey Jack cheese and then stir everything together until it's well combined. And finally, we're going to top this chicken and rice mixture with more cheese. I've got another cup of Monterey Jack cheese, and then we're going to place this in the oven at 350 degrees. And we're going to cook this for about 20 minutes. And then I like to pop this under the broiler just to kind of toast up the top a little bit. This is definitely optional, but it just makes it so delicious. All right, we are ready to taste test. I've got a little bit of avocado on there. I squeezed some fresh lime juice. It's basically like one big burrito bowl in a skillet. And I love how easy it was with the rice and the pre-cooked chicken, like such a fast weeknight dinner. And the leftovers is so good, super flavorful. Those are my dog's little nails in the background, if you can't hear that. It's honestly a rare moment around here when I can film in the dead quiet, so we just have to go with it. Okay, that's a huge bite. Okay, that's much better. All right. That has such great flavor from that salsa verde. It's kind of tangy, a little bit sweet. I think I might even put like a drizzle a little bit more on top because I have about a half a jar. This is perfect. And that smoked paprika that I put in there, it just gives it a little hint of smokiness. This is an awesome, like quick weeknight meal. But you know what? I would make this on the weekend too because it was easy and it's still kind of comforting. And also when you broil this, it creates kind of this like cheesy crust on the top. So each bite has that little bit of kind of toasty, perfect meal, especially for this cold, dreary night. All right, so for these sweet potato black bean enchiladas, there's very little prep work. I'm just going to chop up some onion, about a half a cup or so, and then I have 1 medium-sized sweet potato here that I'm going to cut into pretty small cubes. I want them to be small enough so that they cook quickly in the pan, but I also want them to be about the same size as the black beans. They'll probably be a little bit bigger, but We're going to do this and get all of these prepped and move over to the pan and start sauteing the onions and the sweet potatoes, and then we'll move on with the next step. Okay, we've got our pan heated to about a medium-high heat, and I'm going to add in 1 tablespoon of olive oil. You can also do avocado oil or whatever oil you have on hand. So we'll do a tablespoon there, and then we're going to add our onions and our sweet potato. And I am just going to add a little bit of salt. This will just kind of help break down the onions and the potatoes. And this is going to cook for about 8 to 10 minutes. I do want to make sure that the sweet potatoes are tender. I don't want them to be crunchy at all. So for those of you that do not like sweet potatoes at all, and that's totally fine, you could do carrots, you could do regular russet potatoes, or really any kind of potato. You're really just kind of going for the texture. I mean, the sweetness is important, but it will still be delicious if you did just regular potatoes. But try carrots because that gives it that little bit of sweetness. Okay, so we're just going to let this cook, and I'll just kind of stir it in between for the next few minutes. I'm starting to smell the onion is browning, which is really what you want, because when the onion caramelizes like that, it just adds so much flavor. So definitely cook the onion with the sweet potato and make sure that those onions, like the darker, the better. Okay, we're just going to give these a stir, and then I'm just going to check. I'm pretty sure my potatoes are done, but that looks good. That's the kind of caramelization that you want on them. These little brown bits, it's going to add so much flavor. Now let's see. Oh yeah, that's perfect. Fork tender, that's exactly what you want. All right, so next we're going to add in, I'm going to do a 1/2 teaspoon of chili powder. And I'm just going to add that right over the potatoes and onions. And then we're going to do 1 full teaspoon of cumin. And you can kind of start to see the smoke. That's what you want. We are going to be toasting the spices, and that's really going to bring out the flavor and just create just a more flavor-packed enchilada. So we'll just stir this, and basically I'm just going to toast the spices for about a minute, just until I can kind of smell it and it's really fragrant. All right, so next I've got a can of low sodium black beans. I've rinsed and drained these. I'm going to add these to the pan. And then I'm also going to add in a 1/4 cup of this roasted salsa verde. I just had this left over from another recipe, so I'm going to use this up, and then I'll probably need a little bit more. So I actually have a can of this salsa verde, so I'll use a little bit of that as well. So I'm just going to pour in a 1/4 cup, and we're just going to heat this through. I'm just going to eyeball it. That looks like about a 1/4 cup. Give this a stir. All right, that's perfect. I'm going to turn the heat off, and then we're going to build our enchiladas. All right, so I've got my assembly line here. I just wrapped these 12 corn tortillas in a damp paper towel, and I put them in the microwave for about 1 minute and 30 seconds. So these are nice and hot, and that way they'll roll nicely, and hopefully they won't split. So I'll just take one of these corn tortillas, and I'm going to add just maybe a good heaping tablespoon or a little bit more to the corn tortilla. That looks good. And then I'm just going to sprinkle on a little bit of cheese. I am going to do some queso fresco when I pull this out of the oven. So I don't want this to be super gooey cheesy, just a little bit for flavor. And then we'll just wrap this guy up and place it seam side down over here in our 9 by 13 inch baking dish that I've sprayed with nonstick cooking spray. I just feel like this is such an easy, like, vegetarian option. It's fast, and it's still like comfort food, you know, it's just hearty. There's a lot going on with really simple ingredients. All right, so I was actually only able to fit about 11 in here, And I do have one that's split, but that's okay. We're going to be pouring sauce over this. I could probably fit one on each side, but I'm not going to do that. Okay, now we're going to take our remaining salsa verde, and I'm just going to pour this over the top of our tortillas. I'm going to try and get just a little bit of this brand over each one, and then I can pour some of the other brand over the rest of them. So we're just going to spoon, because it's pretty runny, I'm just going to spoon it over the top of our enchiladas. I don't want these to be super saucy because I want the tops to get a little bit brown, but you definitely want enough on there to give it good flavor. And I just take my spoon and I kind of run it in between the tortillas a little bit. That way some of the sauce will seep down in between. And then you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and pour this sauce on the bottom of the pan on both sides. I think that'll be really good. Okay, so we're going to pop this in the oven. I have the oven set at 400 degrees and we're going to cook this about 25 minutes until it's all warmed through and the top is a little bit browned. Okay, while that is baking in the oven, we are going to make a really simple topping that will go over the top of it once it comes out of the oven. This is so good and it's definitely unique. So we've got some queso fresco. I'm just going to crumble about, I don't know, quarter cup, maybe a little bit more. I just really eyeball it. You definitely want there to be enough of it on top. So I'll crumble that in the bowl. I'm going to add in about 2 tablespoons of fresh cilantro, but you can do parsley or you don't even have to do anything like that. And then I'm going to do a small handful of these chili lime pepitas. In our grocery store, we have a bulk section and they have chili lime or they have just regular roasted salted pepitas. So you could buy those, or you could even do roasted salted pumpkin seeds. Oftentimes, even like in the salad dressing section, they'll have stuff like this for salad toppings. But it's just a really unique, like that crunch is really yummy with the enchiladas. Okay, so we're just going to get this cheese crumbled in here and then add in the rest of the ingredients and just mix everything together. Okay, does that not look so beautiful? That's just going to be awesome over the top of these enchiladas when they come out of the oven. All right, our enchiladas are done. Check those out. So I just added a little bit of sour cream over the top just because I like kind of that cool creaminess with the enchiladas. So the edges are a little bit crisp as well, but the tortilla itself is soft, which I love because I just think it's so good when the edges get kind of toasty and it's just unique. And I love how light it is, but still packed with lots and lots of flavor. Okay, we're gonna give this a try. I feel like there is so much going on in here, but in a good way. You've got your sweetness from the potatoes with all the other savory ingredients, and then the pepitas, which give it crunch, and then that salty cheese on top, that little bit of sour cream. Like, this is so delicious, so flavorful, and you saw how easy it was to make. Like I said though, if you do not like sweet potato at all, feel free to swap it out with something else like potatoes, like regular potato, carrots, but that sweetness with kind of the spicy, savory ingredients, it is so delicious. I have not made these enchiladas with flour tortillas, but the corn tortillas, I just feel like it's where it's at. It has the best texture and they're not soggy. And again, they have that crispy edge. These are just so, so good. All right, so I'm gonna start by getting my veggies ready for our slow cooker chicken meal. I've got some red potatoes here. I'm gonna leave the skins on. These are about 4, I think I did like 4 or 5 medium-sized red potatoes. And then I also have 1 pound of fresh green beans. You can also do canned green beans and just put those in at the end, but I really like the texture of the fresh green beans. And I just buy the pre-packaged that's already been washed, but I did rinse these again and I kind of went through the beans to make sure there wasn't any funky ones in there, you know? So I'm gonna go ahead and add the beans to the potatoes. And then I've got some really simple seasonings. We've got some Peruvian seasoning here, about 2 teaspoons. I've got a half a teaspoon of garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of dried thyme, about a teaspoon and a half of salt and a half a teaspoon of pepper. And the Peruvian seasoning is just this brand that I buy, the McCormick's, and it has like paprika, garlic powder. I think there's some turmeric, a little bit of sugar. It just has some really great seasonings and makes veggies and chicken and any kind of meat super flavorful. So I'm going to add that in. And then I'm going to do 1 tablespoon of olive oil. All right, so I'm going to give this a toss and make sure that everything is well coated, and then we'll move on to the chicken. All right, so for our chicken, I have 8 kind of small-ish chicken thighs. You can also do chicken breasts or like a combination of both. And I did trim some of the fat off of it just because I don't want the dish to be super oily, but a little bit of fat will give it really good flavor. So I'm going to add some seasoning salt to both sides of the chicken thighs, and then I'm also going to do some garlic powder, and we'll do some black pepper. You just want to make sure that your chicken is well seasoned, because this is really the only time we're going to be adding flavor to it. All right, so I've got my slow cooker insert here, which I just love because I can sear this and then put it into the slow cooker. I've got a couple of tablespoons of olive oil in there, heated up. I have this on about medium-high heat, and we're going to add our chicken thighs and sear the chicken thighs on both sides until they're golden brown. We're not going to cook the thighs all the way through, just enough to get some sear on them, and then we'll add in our veggies. All right, so now that we have our chicken all seared on both sides, I'm going to go ahead and add my veggies to the slow cooker. I'm just going to move these around a little bit. And all we have left to do is we're going to add a little bit of butter to the top, and this will just give it some richness and extra flavor. And this is it. We're going to pop the lid on, and I'm going to cook this actually on high for about 4 or 5 hours until the chicken is cooked through and the veggies are tender. All right, our slow cooker meal is done. And this is definitely optional, but I like to put a little bit of grated Parmesan cheese over the top of the potatoes and the green beans. I just think it adds another layer of like flavor and saltiness. This chicken is so tender, and I'm telling you, the chicken thighs, like they totally make it. And there's also lots of liquid at the bottom of the slow cooker, so make sure to like drizzle a little bit of that over the chicken and the veggies. Oh my gosh. When I think about like Sunday suppers, this is the kind of meal that I'm talking about. And these green beans, I love the fresh green beans in here because they cook down and kind of have that texture like a canned green bean, only they just taste fresher. And the seasonings in here are so yummy. That Peruvian seasoning that I showed you is delicious, and I think that you can pretty much find that anywhere. I'll put a link in the description. Such a delicious meal. Well, I am so glad that you spent some time in the kitchen with me today. I hope that you enjoy all of these meals. Remember, you can find all of the recipe links in the descriptions. And if you're new here, I'd love for you to be part of my YouTube family. Make sure to subscribe and tap the little bell. That will notify you every time I post a new video. I hope that you have a really blessed week, and we will see you next time.